Assalamu alaikum. Yes, you're live. Can you see and hear me?
Salam, yeah, how you doing? You okay?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for coming on last moment's notice.
No worries at all, bro. How you doing? You okay?
Doing good. I just wanted to look at review your debate with Dershowitz, and I thought it'd be interesting to call you before. How did it go?
Well, I mean, I think it was enjoyable from my end. It was interesting. I mean, the thing is, it's become like when you go on Piers Morgan Uncensored, it's not meant to be like a formal academic debate. And I learnt my lesson the first time when I had a debate with a guy called Shmoli.
Yeah.
And I asked him, like, because the common protocol, like the typical protocol with the debate is, one person speaks for a certain amount of time uninterrupted, and then the other person speaks for a certain amount of time uninterrupted, etc. And then there's like cross-examination, and then there's like questions and answers, or something to that effect. So when I proposed that to the production team the first time, they were not interested in that kind of thing. So I realized what kind of game is being played, because the first thing you got to do with these things is to see what kind of game is being played. And the game is the loudest person, the most assertive person, the most aggressive person usually gets center of the ring. So the strategy going into this one was, okay, well, if that's how you guys are going to play it, then I'm going to have to play this game as well, and I can play this game. And I had to do a psychological assessment of Piers Morgan and Dershowitz, and I found that there were two individuals with extremely fragile egos and quite averse to, or you could say hypersensitive to criticism. So I would just have in my pocket all of these ad hominems that any time where I thought like I was losing the center of the ring, I'd throw an ad hominem. Because for me, people don't look necessarily at arguments when it comes to these engagements. I think arguments are important, but they are a secondary priority. The first priority is actually optics. And it's a genocide supporter or someone like Piers Morgan, or an apologist really for Palestine genocide. He tries to pretend or feign that he's on the fence. But after a year, 50,000 people effectively died in more than one country. Israel acting in the same way in Palestine, acting in the same way in Gaza, acting in the same way in Lebanon. I was not going to be questioned by this guy. And I don't mind if anyone comes and says, well, you're very arrogant the way you've dealt with this, very distasteful, very unbecoming. I say, you know what? It doesn't matter what you think, because with all due respect, I would rather look arrogant and be dominating with an enemy or with an individual who's an apologist for the genocide than look professional but weak at the same time. So it's a trade-off I was happy to have. And I think this is the only way to deal with people like this. And I think it was, from my perspective, it fulfilled the strategic function of showing the hypocrisy of Piers Morgan. Because when he was questioned with the same words and the same interrogations that he uses to question other people about Israel, does Israel have a right to defend itself? What's the proportionate response? Literally, his exact words were used against him. And you saw him contradict himself in the span of a minute. Does Iran have a right to defend itself? Yes, no, no, yes. Literally going from one answer to another answer in the span of 20 or 30 seconds, not knowing how to respond to that question, getting a taste of his own medicine. He's been doing it. Like, I will never forget the interview that he conducted with Jeremy Corbyn.
Right.
Jeremy, if you saw that interview, bro, he was basically trying to ravage Jeremy Corbyn with like 15 or 16 or 20 times asking the same thing. You condemn this, or does Israel have a right to defend itself? Okay, well, have a taste of your own medicine, Piers Morgan, because it's not just you that can try and act the bully. If you could try and dish it out, and you want to dish it out to people like Jeremy Corbyn and this one and that one, the other one, Abdul Wahid, who the GP who lost his job subsequently because of that interview, and other people as well who he's been trying to bully. If you act like that, you're not about that life really, because there's always going to be someone who can do that to you in a better way than that you can do it to other people. And that person's Mohammed Hijab. And when he came and he did it to you in Dershowitz, I mean, you really didn't have a response. I mean, the physiognomy of Piers Morgan said it all. His facial expressions, his physiological reactions. He was a defeated man. And that's all I wanted to do. And yeah, some people say it's distasteful, but to be honest with you, I don't care what I have to say about that.
Yeah, some people said that he started to cry, that he started to team up. I thought he was supposed to be moderating. What do you think is the best way to navigate these sort of debates? Because I'm sure you get criticism from people saying that you go guns blazing too much, but I like the way you describe a debate as the ring. You're not just in there to have a friendly conversation. When it's somebody who's opposing your entire worldview, and it's all about optics, and there's a big stage, it really is a fight. How do you navigate conversations like that without destroying your reputation, but also upholding the point of view that you hold so dearly?
I think debates are more of an art than a science. Some people think that debates are you coming with these arguments and you have to act in this way. You have to not be afraid to break formalities. At the end of the day, there are some formalities with these things. And when you're going on Piers Morgan's Uncensored, for example, someone would think you have to assume the posture of an interviewee. I didn't take that as a granted assumption. So I took quite frankly, as much as I could with the tools that I had, I took the role of the interviewer. I actually said, I'm going to get the center of the ring. And the way I did that, and I'm going to reveal the secret, since I don't think I'm going to be debating this issue with Piers Morgan again, is like I said before, you just review the psychological profile of the person that you're dealing with. A lot of it is just psychological advantage. Someone will say, why did you start with an ad hominem? An ad hominem, isn't that a kind of informal fallacy? It's only an informal fallacy if you connect it to an argument and you say, for example, you are such and such, therefore you are wrong. I mean, no one's making an argument in that kind of crude manner. An ad hominem is actually a very effective means of discrediting your opponent, of setting a psychological scene, of creating a certain thing. So to remove ad hominems from a public debate on these kinds of issues is actually quite ridiculous and foolish, and there's no reason to do so. The only reason why the term ad hominem has a bad reputation is because people think it's a fallacy, but it's only a fallacy if you connect it explicitly to a kind of logical proposition. We're not doing that. So you can throw as many ad hominems as you want. I mean, sometimes ad hominems are like the spice, like, salt on the food. You put ad hominems there and you entertain the public with some ad hominems. And if you say, well, that's a bad argument, so, like he did, I say, I'm not making an argument. I'm just making a point. I'm making a point about your character, about his character, about someone else's character. And that's just for the public to see. Because, look, the debate is a bit like a performance. It is a performance. You're coming out there, you're trying to convince the public. And so as I say, it's an art because you first have to look at the psychological profile of the person that you're dealing with. So knowing Piers Morgan, the thing about him is, as I mentioned, he's hypersensitive to criticism, and he always feels the need to justify his actions to the public.
Right.
I mean, everyone can do that to some extent. I mean, there's a healthy amount of doing that to just explain to the public or whatever if people are really curious. But he does it because and it came out in his interview, if you really paid attention, he cares too much what even his adversaries think about him. So he said, what do you think of me, Mohammed? What do you think of me? Who cares what I think of him? I mean, I don't care what he thinks of me. Why does he care so much if I like him or don't like him or these kind of things? So it's a psychological weakness, okay? And because for him, he's not basing his stances on principles, or he's basing it on money, okay? He's basing it on these kind of things. He's money over morals peers. So someone with that kind of psychological profile, it's easy to break him, okay? It's actually quite easy to break him. It's a mind game that must be played with him, because the first thing is, Dershowitz is the same, by the way. You'd have noticed that when I was speaking to him about Epstein's Island, he kind of crossed his arm, he became like a little girl. Oh, I'm telling you, I didn't go to the island. I mean, why are you? I mean, the way he spoke about that is, people are saying in the comment section, it's very incriminating. People are saying that people are saying in the comment section, he sounds guilty. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, he went down with a jab, really, because both of them are, like I say, fragile psychologically. So if you know that the person's a disturber and is a liar and is playing a game with you, he doesn't really know the facts. And every single thing that I said about international relations has been fact-checked and turned out to be correct. Every single thing about international law has been fact-checked, that he said it was wrong, and it turned out to be correct. So if these people are going to poison the well and lie about the facts, okay, well, let's play a game. I know your weaknesses. You can't really get to me because you can't reach me in that way psychologically. Let's see. Let's see. So the ad hom in the beginning was a way of really like, if you like, putting the jab to the face of to the nose of the opponent in the beginning, just letting them respect who you are. It's like a psychological advantage. And then after that, we'll throw the arguments, we'll mention all these points and all that kind of thing. But you need to maintain center of the ring. In a place like Piers Morgan Uncensored, you have to, as soon as you get in there, the tactic is to get the center of the ring and ask the questions and be the interviewer. And yes, be ready for anything else. But that's what I've done with him. And people will not like it. But I'll be honest, I cannot care what their opinion is, because I'm pretty sure that for the minority of people that don't like it, like 2%, 3%, who said you went a bit overboard or whatever, if they went on Piers Morgan, they'd probably get ravaged by him. And they get, if it was a 2-on-1 situation, they'd get even more ravaged, and they would be spoken over, and they would be interrupted, and I would rather be, like I said before, I would rather look arrogant, I'd rather look whatever than look weak on that show with that man defending that position. For me, that was not an option.
That's a good strategy, and I think it's worked time and time again against Shmuley and against that major debate you had just on Palestine-Israel against Piers Morgan last year. You got to get dirty. You know, the formal debate strategy does not work on a live show like that. It's a different type of ball game. So it was good to see that. I'm looking for. Do you recommend that I watch the full interview, or should I watch the highlights that you put up on your channel?
No, you can do a bit of both. I mean, I put some highlights. The guys that are working with me, Benjamin Ikra is a fantastic, person who manages the social media platforms, and I have to give him a shout out because he's the one who puts those things together. You can watch that as a taster and stuff. Some things that he put on the shorts and all these kind of things, they're good. But I mean, you can watch the whole thing because you'll see. I mean, just pay attention to the body language, pay attention to the psychology of these two men, pay attention to how weak they look, because that for me is more important than anything. For me, optically how a debate looks is as important as how it sounds. And so for example, if someone were to turn off all the sound and children were to come into a room and they had to judge who is the winner of this debate, the child should be able to point without hearing a word at the winner of the debate just by the body language and the demeanor and the confidence levels of the interlocutor. And that's for me a very, very integral part of debates.
What about you had another debate recently with that you were preparing for a long time. What is his name again? It's
William Lane Craig.
Yeah, William Lane Craig. I didn't get to see that yet. How did that one? It seemed like that was. I saw some highlights, but it seemed like that was unanimously in your favor.
It was. I mean, but the thing is, William Lane Craig is no, Dershowitz. He's a person who's, quite frankly, I have to say, he is academically honest. And he is a heavyweight in the world of academia. And in the field that I've, completing my PhD is philosophy of religion. He's really one of the biggest names in the last 100 years. And in Christian debates, he could be said to be the biggest name in the last 100 years. So William Lane Craig is, if you've watched any of these Christian apologists, usually in some way, shape or form, the teacher of your favorite Christian apologist debater. Like, for example, David Wood. I had a big debate with David Wood in 2018. Right. And William Lane Craig would be considered to be, in a way, his teacher. So he's a big, big fish, and you can't really get away with things with him. He's written a book on logic. He's written so many peer-reviewed papers. So I actually prepared for that debate very rigorously and very, strenuously. Like every day I would be reading his books. I've read most of, if not all his books. I've read most of, if not all his seen most of, if not all his debates and all of his public lectures and everything that there is to do with this guy. Because for me, this was more of an academic debate. Yeah, I was assertive, but it's not like that debate is not going to get as much traction as this one, because the performative aspect of the entertainment aspect was much less, because it was about the facts. And I think it was good. I think we went back and forth. There was nothing that he said that really threw me off, or that something I didn't hear before, except for one example that he gave about some candles, which I misheard, because he said that, if you put two matchsticks together and, both of them will light a candle, will light a candle. And I heard him differently in my head, saying that if you put two candles together, it will become a bigger flame. So in my mind, that was a mistake that I made in hearing what he had to say. And that was the only thing that he brought that I didn't expect him to bring, because I didn't really read it in any of his works. This thing about overdetermination, I think he thought about it on the spot. However, obviously, now having heard what he said, I think it's even a weaker argument than I thought it was in the beginning, because what he was trying to say was that, if God, I'm saying that if the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, how can all three of them create the universe fully and totally and at the same time together? How is that possible? So he said that, well, if you get two matches, okay, and you bring it to the wick of a candle, okay, then those two matches, both of them are fully necessary for the lighting of the wick of that particular candle. And that's a very, 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 very weak argument, because the truth is, if you've got two matches and you, from a physics perspective, if one of them produces enough energy to light the candle, you don't need the other match, becomes superfluous, it's unnecessary completely. So you can't say that actually two matches are the ones which lit the candle, because actually only one match was required to light the candle, and the other one was there as a redundant feature from a physical perspective. Like the heat of the second one is not required, because there's a threshold that was used for the first match. But that's the only thing I think that some Christians came out and said, well, you said this and this and whatever. But nevertheless, even what I did say, which I misheard what he said, was correct. If you do bring two flames together, the flame will become bigger. There's no controversy in that. So the point is that you cannot have two entities, okay, which create the universe to a degree of 100% each. And the similitude of saying that you can is the same similitude of saying that you can have two mothers that are 100% responsible for the production or the creation or the giving birth to one child. So having two mothers that are 100% capable of producing one child. And I've given this example before, and it's something that William Lane Craig did not respond to and cannot respond to and will not respond to, because it's something which is too clear for anyone to dispute. And to be honest, if he can't do it with two PhDs, a master's degree and a BA and all these books and 30 books, I mean, in this library behind me, I've got some of little library. I've got some of his books, as you can see here. This is a book, you can see. He's written on time and eternity. You can see with copious notes attached to it. He's William Lane Craig. Lots of books of his that I've got here that it's not even related to the topic. He's written many, many books. He's a man that is probably the foremost philosopher, in the Christian world. And if he couldn't answer these questions, I'm sorry to say, who can? So the Trinity cannot be defended.
Yeah, he compared it to a three-headed dog, correct?
Exactly that, bro. I mean, comparing the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy, he's saying, look, his argument is this. He's saying you've got a three-headed dog. You've got a three-headed dog. It's actually just one dog with three heads. The response is a very simple response, and Christians have themselves responded to it and said, actually, if you've got a dog with three heads, you've got three dogs with one overlapping body, in the same way as if you had a conjoined twin or a Siamese twin. If you've got a conjoined twin, that's two people, but it's just got some connection between those two people. So if that's your strongest argument, bringing a three-headed dog to prove the Trinity, then you know how false Christianity is. That itself, you have the top dog, no pun intended. You got the top dog of the Christian world, okay?
Yeah.
In the last 100 years, and this guy's the one who defeated so many people in argumentation. Sam Harris, this one, that one, written books, peer-reviewed, 50 years in the game, 50 years, half a century in the game. And this is his best attempt. There's no way, I'm sorry to say, there's no way this can be made sense of. You cannot make sense of the Trinity. And if you can't make sense of the Trinity, you still believe in Jesus. Islam is the only religion, really. Only major world religion. If you still believe in Jesus, you want to believe in the Messiah, and you can't make sense of the Trinity, then you have to believe he's the prophet and the messenger, and that he's not God or the Son of God, because it doesn't make sense for him to be part of the Trinity. And if that's it, if you've understood that, then Islam is really the only option for you.
What do you have coming up for? Because you're coming off of two big wins. I see on Twitter that you're very selective with your debates, and I think that's the right strategy, right? When you get to a certain point, and when you have like major victories under your belt, a lot of other debaters will want to come in there and try to do a quick one, because they get to steal some of that aura. They get to steal that win. It is a lot like fighting. You need to be selective with it. What do you have coming up forward? Anything major, or do you think that you should relax for a bit?
By the end of the month, I've got something to announce, which will be, in my understanding, quite major. But the announcement will come at the end of the month. In terms of debating, though, I'm going to give it a rest until something comes to my attention, which is interesting. I mean, to be honest, there's like 7 or 8 people now that are lining up on a waiting list to debate me, and I have no problem. Maybe one day they'll get their chance. But they also need to understand that I've been debating for a very long time, and that now my debates have garnered some of the most views and interactions and engagements in the world. Okay, that's a fact. I mean, in multiple languages. So just being fair, if they were in my position and then they had the same kind of resume, I'm putting aside whether you think I won or lost any of those debates. That's a subjective value judgment. And of course, if you don't agree with me ideologically, you're going to think I lost every single debate I've ever been in. It's not a problem. But the fact remains that from an influential perspective or from a prominence perspective, that my debates for the last, especially since 2018, but well beyond that, have garnered the kind of traction that they've garnered. So if somebody with a tenth of the, if someone with a tenth of the with the numbers that I've got has the audacity to come and speak to me as if, oh, you're a coward if you don't do such and such, and you're such and such if you don't do such and such. I mean, why do you think I owe you a debate? I don't owe anybody a debate. You know what I mean? So, I mean, until you come and done what, even a fraction, I'm not even telling you to do what Mohammed Hijab done. That might be an impossible thing for you to do. But go ahead and do some of that. Go and do 20% in your community. Get that level of 20% on track, 30%, maybe. I like debating. I enjoy it. You can come to me and you can fulfill, like somebody called Jay Dyer or Sam, the wife beater, or anybody else who wants to, engage. Shmoli came the other day. This guy, Mus'ab Ibn Yusuf, or I don't know his full name, or this one or that. There's so many of them that have come and presented themselves. This other guy called, I don't know, Andrew Wilson, or is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his name. And he's like, yeah, come and speak to me. I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, so go and then I click on all I have to do is click on their thing and see their engagements, and they're not really big figures. So, okay, I'm a coward, or I'm a bad man, or I'm a scared man because I don't want to accept a debate with an individual or individuals that have a tenth of my following or a tenth of or have not really achieved much in their communities. If that's what you want to say to yourself to make yourself feel good, then by all means, you can tell me that.
I think the William Lane Craig debate, that does kind of encompass a lot of the other Christian apologists. So there's no need to, as a viewer's perspective, there's no need.
I have to be excited for it, because at the end of the day, I'm not excited by these names. I mean, these names are not exciting. They're not exciting me. And I'm sorry to say, I have to be motivated. So when Piers Morgan gave me Andrew Dershowitz, and I thought 2-1, I'm going to make this into it's going to be a 2-1 engagement. Piers Morgan, he gets the numbers. Okay, humiliating him in front of the public and stuff like that. Is there a need for that? Is there a utility in that? I said, okay, no problem. And I did it in 1 day's notice. I checked out, because I've read some of that Dershowitz stuff before. So I just looked at my notes from the library and stuff like that, and saw and spoke to a few people, international relations experts and stuff, and we went for it. But if you're not going to be, what you bring to the table at the end of the day, for all those people who want to debate Mohammed Hijab, the question really remains, what are you bringing to the table? It's not like you're bringing, most of these people are unqualified. A lot of these people don't even have a single qualification. So you're not an academic. You don't even have social media reach. You're not even loved in your own communities. So what is it about Yani? So the point is, you can go and prove yourselves, go and get a few wins under your belt, go and let the community back you. And then if I see, and if my team finds that, that you're at a certain level, then maybe one day, no problem, I'll be around. I'm just turned 33 years old. I mean, I'm still quite young. There's, years and years of my life. Maybe we'll meet one day. But the point is, I mean, it's for them to think that they're what kind of entitlement must they have? I mean, for me, when I approached William Lane Craig, I approached him with a certain level of respect. I mean, this guy's way my senior. He's much more. If he said no because you're not on my level, honestly, if he said that to me, I'd be okay, fine. He's right. I'm not on his level. He's done much more than I have, and he's been in the game for more than I have. That's simple as that. If someone like, even to be fair, even like Richard Dawkins, who I would love to debate one day, But if he says, look, I'm sorry, but, you know, go and build yourself up a little bit more and then come back to me, I'll say to him, yeah, fair enough. You can say things like that, but you might not be alive. You know, I might not be alive. You might not be alive. Nobody might be alive, but he's 80 something years old. You know, fine. If you're the A side, you can speak like that. But if you're not the A side, you can't speak like that. So by the end of the month, there's going to be some announcements that we're going to make about some things that's going to happen. But I'm definitely going to give debating a bit of a rest for now until something comes up.
I figured you were going to. That's probably the smart decision. Are you good friends with Firas Zahabi? Because I'm planning a stream with him to go out to Montreal. I'm headed to Canada tomorrow. Are you good friends with him?
Very good friends with him. I think I've actually watched most of his videos as well. People don't know that he's got a website called jujuclub.com. And that website, he puts tutorials about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, striking tutorials, a lot of like mixed martial arts stuff. And they're really good. He's a good teacher. Like he shows he breaks things down analytically. He's a grappling expert under John Danaher, who's like, you know, really and truly one of the greatest grapplers alive today. And he's obviously an MMA expert. Joe Rogan described him as the best MMA coach in the world today, actually. And GSP was a student of his. So you can imagine GSP is considered really the best MMA fighter in the world today, of all time, actually, considered of all time. So this is the level that Firas Zahabi is a treasure in the community because he combines between like the philosophical understanding, the intelligence, but also the warrior spirit and also the love for martial arts. So I think he's a great friend of mine and someone I've learned a lot from and taken a lot from personally.
Okay, that's a good recommendation. There's a lot. Anything that I should ask him? Just in general, I'd probably just pick his brain.
I think so. I mean, look, it depends on what what your objectives are. If your objectives are to get good at mixed martial arts, then clearly you can ask him a good template. Speak to him in a macro sense. Because if you go to Montreal for a couple of weeks, you're not going to go and come back as GSP. But what you might go and come back with is the way to become like the new GSP, in the sense that he'll give you the tools, he'll give you the routines, he'll give you anything to do with routines. I think is always good. When you ask a person of that caliber, what are the routines that I must employ? I think these are the kinds of things you got to ask yourself what your objectives are, and then ask him how do you meet those objectives, so that when you come back to Florida, that you're able to. Are you in Florida now?
Yeah, I'm back in Miami.
Is there alligators? I saw some alligators on the streets.
No alligators. The hurricane is. You could probably see a little bit outside. It's nice and sunny. I think it was overhyped by the media. It's okay here.
Oh, really? I saw some alligators and stuff like that.
No gators here.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's what it is, bro. Like, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, feed him for a lifetime. So someone like Firas Zahabi, you don't ask him for a fish, you ask him, to know how to fish, and that's what I would do.
That's the best thing to go with it. I mean, I wasn't planning to go for a couple of weeks, but it seems like there might be it's going to be cold up there. How's everything in London?
It's good. It's like autumn here. Weather's good. We're all waiting for you, bro. You need to come back. I think really you need to relocate here. I know you don't like the weather. We don't have the Florida weather, but actually, to be honest, I think our weather is probably better than your guys', at least this week. With alligators. But
that's the first week in a long time. Yeah, I do miss London. I've been spending quite a bit of time there this year, but.
Yeah,
things have quieted down. And speaking of things in London, we tried to set up a debate. I don't know if you know Aiden Ross. We tried to set up a debate with Dan Bilzerian and Tel Aviv Tommy Robinson. Tommy he refused. He didn't respond to it. He ran away from the debate, unfortunately. Tommy
Robinson has run away from multiple debates. And Dan, from my understanding, has a greater reach than Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
And since and he's more well known, more respected. He's come out and said some fantastic things about Palestine. He's shown to be open minded, and we have good opinions about this man, and we hope that he continues with this principled stance. Because to be honest with you, he's shown quite a good level of courage and, valor in the face of these ops and enemies. And I think that will continue. 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 And I think that that are on social media. Yes, he wouldn't debate someone like Tommy wouldn't debate someone like him because he knows that the crowd will be against him. He knows that um that Dan will put him in his place because he speaks sense and he doesn't want to debate another white man. He wants to go and debate. Tommy wants to debate brown people with low IQ. That's the usual target. He wants to debate somebody who's an unknown quantity with a very low IQ so that he can say that he's. And Tommy's not a debater. Tommy's not an academic. Tommy's not anything. Tommy's a street agitator. That's fine. He can agitate on the street. But in fact, what's worse is that he's a street agitator that's not even an agitator on the streets of the UK because he agitates from Greece when other people and his lackeys and followers and whipping boys here in the UK will do his work for him because they feel disenfranchised and have no one else to go to.
I mean, Dan's not a debater either. Dan Bilzerian is a business mogul, is a poker player. He does not have a debate background whatsoever. So I thought it was pretty well matched. And also they had a back and forth on Twitter. There were, what's his name? Tommy Robinson was accusing myself and Dan Bilzerian of being paid by Iran and Saudi. And I had this funny conversation with Dan. It's like, if someone was going to offer us money to pose and take pictures with the Quran, I would take the money. If somebody was offering up giant sums of money in order to promote Islam, I would gladly take it, but there is none.
What Tommy Robinson is doing is psychological projection because that he is on the record of getting money through Zionist entities. So he thinks everyone deals with life the way he deals with it. You know, he gets money over morals, all these kind of things, and then he does. So he's on the record of getting funds and stuff like that, and people have shown, Loki, for example, has shown the trail to the Zionist causes. And so he's projecting, he's saying, SNEAKO is getting money from Saudi Arabia. But somehow now, I didn't know that Saudi Arabia was offering money for people that are doing da'wah. But that's the first time I've heard of it, because if they were, I mean, I've been in the game for a very long time. I think I'm the first one in the line that should be getting some money from the Saudis, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a modest cause. Honest, genuinely. I mean, the thing is, the dawah is a very modest cause, and you'll find that no one probably offered you anything in the time. The only thing we offer in Islam is truth and brotherhood, and that's all the things we need.
That's it. Dan Bilzerian, same thing. He's saying that he's only lost money talking about this. He's lost millions of dollars. People have pulled out of his businesses. His shareholders want to get rid of him as the CEO because he's speaking up about Palestine. It's a cause that you lose a lot for, but you gain in nobility and respect from the community.
Yeah, because look, the people who have stood up for these causes are going to be etched in history as people who spoke the truth. People like Muhammad Ali, people like Malcolm X. There's no question, even at their time, if you read Malcolm X's autobiography, which I know that you have, you'll find that he found, people in his time really opposing him, for what he was saying. They considered him to be an extremist. They considered him to be out of the ordinary, and he was fighting against the tide. But at the end of the day, this is actually what gives us meaning and power and strength. Because we can either decide to be sheep or shepherd. There's no third option in the age of social media now. You can either decide to bring people to a noble cause and to the truth, or you can decide to follow everyone else in what they're doing and go with the modern ideology of the day, the fad of the day, whether it's LGBTQ ideology, whether it's trans ideology, whatever it is. You can decide to go with that, and you'll be forgotten and rendered irrelevant in the dustbins of history, the trash heap of history. Or you could decide to speak the truth, and then you can have a legacy which is, inshallah, from our perspective as Muslims, sadaqatun jariyah, or this idea of a continual charity. It's a continuous. After you die, if you leave something good, then your good deeds continue. We believe if you've left something good, like for example, if you leave an orphanage, or for example, if you leave a water well, or for example, if you've left good knowledge or good da'wah that brings people to Islam and that removes the doubts away from the people, this kind of thing, we believe, will continue after your death in a spiritual sense and in a material sense. What they have is not going to continue even within their own lives, let alone after their death.
I appreciate you for coming on. This was Informative, good precursor to watching this debate. So thanks a lot. I know that it's very late over there in London. Mohammed Hijab, thanks so much.
No, thank you so much, bro. I'll see you soon, bro.
All right, see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.